Hello everyone and welcome to the class. This is David A. Cox with PCClassesOnline.com. Today we are talking all about the application Numbers for the Mac. Now this is a product that is put out by Apple to compete with the Microsoft product Excel. And of all the classes that I've taught, this is one of the most difficult because there is so much information to potentially go over here. And one of the things I have to do before every class is decide what to cover and what to leave out in order to keep the class compact and moving at an adequate pace. So I really do hope you enjoy it. Without any further ado, here is Numbers for the Mac, coming up next on PCClassesOnline.com. First thing we're going to be talking about today is using templates. The number one thing I tend to recommend about using numbers is if you don't want to use formulas and code, it is so much easier to just use a good template. Now, Numbers comes with a ton of different templates. This is one I was actually already in. When you first open Numbers, it brings you to the template chooser. So here, right at the top, you can see we have a blank template, checklist with a total at the bottom, charting basics, but then we get some of the more interactive ones, like personal finance. I tend to be a very big fan of the personal budget one. It's just really well written. And what's nice about templates is you can still modify it. You can put in your own information. Personal savings, net worth, retirement savings, loan comparison, mortgage calculator. We scroll down a little further, we get some of the personal options here. Okay, things like calendars, schedules, planners, that kind of thing. Scroll down a little further, we have some of the more popular business ones. Probably the most popular template here is this one, the invoice. And I'm going to show you how to customize your own template in just a moment. And then we have educational ones. Now, if you end up creating your own templates, you will find that in this final section here called My Templates. If you haven't done it yet, this category will not be here. One of the things I like to do in all of our classes is I like to end up giving you all as many resources as possible. And at this point, I would like to bring up one of those right now. And I have it on monitor 2, and I need to just move it over here. So if you need more templates than what you saw on that last screen, I want to give you a few things here. The first is a great little website called iWorkCommunity.com. Basically, Numbers used to be part of a suite of applications called iWork. That's why it's called that. If you look here at the very top, we have 442 templates for pages, 99 for Numbers, 17 for Keynote. The add-ons that I saw didn't look that appealing, but there's some really good ones here in Numbers. Now, if you go through these, and by the way, these are all free, so that's a plus. If you go through that and it doesn't do quite what you need, there is another resource. I have not tested it, so I just want to put that out there. If you go into the Mac App Store, if you actually search for the words Numbers template, you're going to find a bunch of different people here who have created nothing but templates for Numbers. They have a giant range in price. My advice is that you really read the reviews, check out the screenshots that they have available. But you can see here there's a whole bunch of different options that are available here. Everything from $5 up to $24. Here's one for $40. So there's quite a few different options there that I want to let you check out. What I would like to do at this point is show you how to customize one of these templates to make it your own so that you get it here where it says My Templates. Best example for this one that I can use is probably the invoice one. This is, like I said, the most popular template there is. Just double click on it and it will open. Little piece of advice I would like to give you, if you wanted to automatically on any of these templates already put in your name and information, it's actually pulling this info from the contact card in the contacts program. So in this case, because this is a business template, you have to make sure that the address is listed as a business, not residential, and it will automatically load that into every template. So let's say I want to make this work with my company, okay? So where it says company name, obviously you double click and you can type in your company name. you can put in and subtract whatever information you want. Like let's say, for example, maybe I'm the kind of business I don't have a project title and description that needs to be on the invoice. Okay, you can delete that. It's not a problem. You really want to get it down to just the key information. Here where it says item 1, item 2, item 3, I would leave these alone because, again, this is all information that is going to get swapped out. The one thing you may want to check out here is sales tax. Okay, so before you create your own template, I would adjust it to meet whatever the tax rate is in your area. Obviously, there's a little thing here at the bottom where it has a placeholder for your name, so make sure you put your info. When you have your template to the point where it's ready, and by the way, you can also put your logo here. You can literally drag it and drop it right here on top of this document. When you have it to the point where it's good to go, here's what you're going to do. You're going to go to File, and you're going to use this option right here to save it as a template. And that way you can go back and you can modify it whenever you need to. Next, I'd like to start to talk about some of the items you see here at the very top of a blank document. So here at the top left, we have our viewing options. If you have a giant amount of data, like let's say you have names and addresses, and you need to find someone, you can't remember who it is, but you know what city they live in, you could use show, find, and replace. And that way it'll search the document through for the information you're looking for. Show rulers is really handy if you need the cells here, or if you need the rows and columns rather, to be a certain width, length, height, whatever it may be. So by doing this, you have an added ruler that appears on your screen. Also, we have hide comments here. That's really only used if you're collaborating with other people, so I don't think we really need to go over that. Your zoom options are right here. I'm going to actually increase it right now so it's a little bit easier to see some of these things here for you. Next, we have the formula bar. Now, what's really handy about numbers is that all of these formulas that some of you may have learned in Excel, which by the way are all true still here in numbers, you don't necessarily need to know them anymore because there's easier ways to figure it out, calculate it, total it up. So we'll go over that more in a little bit. The next item we have here is the table option. So this is to add a second table. And sometimes when you're dealing with numbers, you need to have two different groups of numbers. So maybe there's one piece of information here, but I need to show a separation, almost like the numerical version of a paragraph. Okay, so by clicking on table, it gives me different types of tables that I can have. And you'll see here they look slightly differently. There's also little arrows that you'll see here on the left or right side. So I can make it a different color scheme. So if I want to give it just a little bit of flair, if I need it to stand out a little bit, I can do that. So now we have one table up here and table 2 down here, but it's still on the same sheet. Next is we have the chart button. Let me try to give you just a quick example of how it works. Let's say I'm just putting together maybe temperatures, okay, for the different months. I'll just do 6 months here, and I'll say the average temperature in January was 23, and then it was 13 or 12, and then I'm trying to do this quickly. Okay, and I just need to create a quick chart to show the progress here. Typically what you're going to do is you're going to start and you're going to drag your cursor over all the cells that you're dealing with here. So you can kind of see here there's a little there's a little light blue box around those cells at this point. So now if I need to create a chart to go with that information, I just click here where it says chart, okay, and I can create whatever kind of chart that I need, whether it's a bar graph, a line graph, pie chart, whatever it may be. You'll see here there are 3 different versions of charts. We have 2D, pretty simple, 3D, and interactive. I've never seen someone use an interactive chart in a numbers document. This is something that's much more commonly used inside of something like a keynote presentation. An example where this would be handy is, let's say I'm showing global warming temperatures over the years. There'd be a little slide bar so I can see what it was in 1990, show what it is in 1995, in 2000, etc. So it shows progress. Let's for now just go here into 2D. We'll keep it really simple and let's just do a pretty basic chart. So you can see here it put in the information. So I've got my starting temperature, my ending temperature. Now I'm going to go over this more in a bit, But on the right-hand side, this area right here is referred to as the inspector. And the inspector is basically going to change based on whatever data it is you are clicked on at that moment. So if I click off of the chart and I click onto an individual cell, you can see it changes. Okay, so whenever you need to modify something, that's typically where you're going to go to modify the options for it. Next here is we have a text box. Let me scroll down to our little graph here to give you an example where that might be handy. I'm actually going to zoom out a little bit. This is a little too tight. So let's say I want to put a name on this chart, okay? A text box is just that. It is a floating box of text. You can drag it wherever it is you want. So now if I want to replace that text, I just double click inside it and I can say chart name. Okay, put whatever I want. Over here in the inspector, you'll notice because we're dealing with text, check out what it's on. I can change the font, I can change the color of the text, whatever I want, just as if it were a Word or a Pages document. Next here we have shapes. Shapes are great for kind of making your point, especially in dealing with if you need an arrow to show some sort of a dramatic movement in something like a chart. It's just the example that comes to mind. As we had with the different tables, we have different colors that these can appear in. So if I want a red arrow, I can just click on it and I can drag it to wherever I want. Now, this is a good trick to be aware of. This applies to a lot of the different programs on the Mac. If you need to rotate an image, the way you do it is you put your cursor on one of the corners and you hold down on your keyboard the Command key. See how my cursor changes? Now I can rotate it and drag it. The other dots that you see here are going to change the width and the length of my arrow in this case. Next, we have media. Typically, the only thing I can really think of a lot of people would use with this is photos. This talks to iPhoto, and I'm sure eventually, once it comes out, it'll talk to the new photo program for the Mac, simply called Photos. It can also talk to iTunes and iMovie. I just don't have an idea of anyone who would ever use that feature. So if you need to bring in a photo, for example, maybe just to make it look a little jazzy, you can take the photo, click on it, and now you can resize it. Same trick. You just click on the corner. You can drag down. If you need to rotate it, you can hold the Command key, whatever you need. Next here we have comments. Now, comments, you can collaborate with other people on your document, including people who are on a PC. This part is pretty cool. So to add a comment, you literally just click comment, and you can see it created, in this case, this little box right here. Okay, so if I click on it, it says add your comment here, and someone who I'm collaborating with will be able to see that comment. Now, the way that you collaborate with other people has to do with this next button, which is share, not the singer, sharing. You can create a link to where someone else can view and edit this document. Easiest method to do this is to share it via email. So for someone who's on a PC, for example, what they will end up doing is they will be brought to iCloud.com, where they will basically have access to pretty much all the same tools that you have access to right here. That's one of the best parts of Numbers, is that you can run it on a Mac, you can run it on a PC through the web, or you can run it through an iPhone or an iPad using the app that's available for those devices. Likewise, let's say you want to send this as an Excel document. Now, you can get certain types of errors in dealing with people who are on PCs. You cannot do macros on a Numbers document. However, there is actually a way around it. I want to give a little shout out to one of our members, Joseph Cox, no relation, who sent me a link here. If you are interested in inserting macros into a Numbers document, I am going to include a link in the description of this video to a video that was produced by another tech guru out there, the Mac Most channel on YouTube, where they've showed how you can basically use Apple Script to create essentially a macro in either Numbers or Pages. But if you want to send an Excel document, go here to Send a Copy, choose Mail, and you'll see here we have 4 different options. You can send it as a Numbers document. A PDF document means it's not going to be editable, and Excel right here. You also have CSV. Typically, CSV is used for databases, so I don't know how many of you will end up using that. Okay, and you hit Next. It'll have you name your document if you haven't already done so, and that's it. It'll open up the mail program and insert it. Another thing I would like to show you, even though it's slightly different, is what if you need to create an Excel version of this file locally on your computer. File, export to, and here are the same options here you also get for Numbers 09 support. Okay? Because after all, the current version of Numbers, if you try to send it to someone who's on an older version of Numbers, they won't be able to open it. You'd have to convert it first. So there are your options right there. There's a little tips window here. Not a lot of people use it, but if you forget what things are, you can use that. I'll turn it off right now. And over here, this is part of the inspector. We have format options. That's what most people tend to use. We also have sorting and filter options. For those of you who want to explore that, you have to obviously be clicked on some sort of a table in order to do that. So for example, here I could add a filter, or I could sort them by one specific method through this column right here. The next thing we're going to talk about is the very basics of creating a formula. The most common one is sum, if you need to add up a bunch of numbers, whatever they may be. So let's say I'm tracking sales for different items. Okay, so let's say I've sold candy, food, drinks, and we'll just call it other. Okay, and so I have a whole bunch of different numbers here. Say I have 42 there, 23 there, 52 there, 62 there, and I need to total these up. Well, the easy way to do it is basically to hit the equals key. By the way, for any of you who do know all of the different functions and equations for Excel, they're all the exact same here in Numbers. So there's a couple of different ways to do this. If you need to just simply total up a list of items, you can simply click and drag down that list. So you can see here it automatically knew to add to make it a sum. And it says B2, so that's cell B2, colon, which is through B5. And when I hit the Enter key, it totals it up, just like that. Now, what if you need something a little bit more custom than that? What if, for whatever reason, I only needed to add up the food items but not drink? The other way that you can do it is you can simply hit the equals key, and you can just click on the individual cells. So I could say add this plus this and that and hit Enter. Okay. Now let's say, excuse me, let's say I'm adding all of these. Okay, and I've got my total. But now I need to figure out how that figures in with my budget. So let's say my budget, okay, was only $100. Okay. Now what I need to do is I need to create the equation to show it how to subtract one cell from the other. It's pretty simple. All you have to do, hit the equal symbol again. You'd select your first one minus second one. And in this case, it's negative $79. Now, when you're dealing with numbers, a lot of times you're going to end up wanting to make this known that it's dollars, not just the number negative 79. The easy way to do that, you can either select the entire column by clicking on an individual column. If you're dealing with a giant table here, okay, let me just kind of copy and clone this over so we have a few more numbers here. If you have multiple columns that you need to change this for, one trick you can do is you can click on the first column, hold the Shift key, and click on the last one, and it will add everything in between. Now, in terms of formatting, it's very, very simple. Go over here to the inspector, and you'll see here that the second tab we have is Cell. Click on that. The data format in this case is just set to automatic, which is just simply to say that it's a number. And I can change it from automatic to currency. Because I'm based out of the United States, it makes it all dollars. If you need it to be a different currency, you have all of your different options right here. You can also tell it to add or remove decimal places. So I can just, in this case, because these are all even numbers, I can just take that out. Next, I would like to show you how to do basic sorting. So here I've created a very simple table, different people, names, and then totals next to them. If I need to arrange these, see who sold the most, whatever this is, here's how you do it. What you're going to do is either you can right-click in the column that you want to total, or you can use this little arrow icon next to it. And right here at the very top, we have sort ascending and sort descending. And if you watch here before I do it, so Mabel should be on top. It's going to move all of these together. It's not going to move just that one column. So let's go to sort descending, and voila, there you have it. Sometimes when you're dealing with a large amount of information, clearly more than what we have here, you start to run to the point where you get a little bit crunched. And if you were to try to print a document, it could end up being more than one page. I want to show you a little trick to help prevent that situation. So whenever you run into that situation, what you would do is highlight everything. The easiest way to do this is Command A, which is, by the way, the universal command for select all. What you can do at this point is, let's say I need to crunch these columns to make them all fit. What you can do is right-click anywhere up here, any of these letters up here, and one of the second to final option is Fit Width to Content. So this is going to automatically size all of the different cells so that they fit only as large as they have to be in order for you to fit in the information. Sometimes when you're dealing with spreadsheets, one of the things you need to be able to do is to merge two different cells into one. It's pretty simple. All you need to do is click on one, then hold the Command key on your keyboard and click on the other. Now, what you're going to do is secondary click anywhere in this area, and you'll see right here we have merge cells, sort of towards the middle. So that'll bring all of the information so that they join together into one cell. Occasionally, you may also need to be able to resize different rows or columns. It's really easy. All you need to do is put your cursor in between the two, in this case, rows, and then just drag manually down, and you'll see exactly how large it is. If you need your rows or columns to be all the exact same size, one way you can do this is you can simply go here to View, go back to Show Rulers, and then let's say I need to make all of these rows here an inch long, okay? You'd highlight all of them, click on that little border, and just drag down. So you can see here now all of those will be 1 inch in height. When you start to create lists of whether it's dates or some sort of a numeric list, you have predictable data that can be repeated automatically. Let me show you what I mean. Let's say I'm putting together some sort of a list and I want each row here to represent a different month. One way that you can do this is you can simply type in the word. You don't even have to, in this case, you don't even have to write more than JAN. When you hit the Enter key, it figures it out and it puts January. Now, if I want the next row to automatically be February, here's how you can do it. If you put your cursor over the bottom part of this cell, you'll see that there's this little yellow dot that appears. When I grab that yellow dot and drag down, it will autofill the remaining months over and over. Another example where you could use this is, let's say I want to put together some sort of a budget or somewhere where there's going to be a different row for each day. So I can put 1/1/2015, and sometimes when you're dealing especially with specific dates, it's actually good to give it two pieces of information so that it can see the pattern here. So you do the same thing. You're going to click on the first one, hold the Command key, click on the second cell in this case, grab that yellow dot, and now we have each row representing a different day. Before we go, there are a few additional resources I would like to give to you to help you with your journey of mastering numbers. So if you've gone through all of the templates that come with numbers, and you've also checked out iworkcommunity.com and haven't been happy with what you've seen, there is another option. If you go on your Mac to the little Apple icon at the top left, you can go into the App Store, and if you search for the words Numbers Templates, you are going to find that there are actually quite a few people out there who have created bundles of additional templates. Now, I have not tried any of these myself. I would encourage you to read the reviews before you buy. These range from only a few dollars up to more than $40. So you really want to check them out before you purchase. Another thing I want to mention is during the live class that I taught this past Wednesday, someone was asking about mail merge options. Well, if you haven't already heard, mail merge is gone from the most current version of both Pages and Numbers. There is, however, a way to get it back, and I will include a link, of course, in the description of this video to a very simple Apple script that will allow you to gain that feature back. Now, what if you're dealing with numbers and you come across a equation that you need to be able to create to do some sort of calculation and you just don't know how to formulate it? I like to give you resources for these things. There's a website that I've mentioned many times in the past. There will be a link in the description of the video. If you use that link, I much appreciate it. It is an affiliate link, so we get a small cut and it doesn't cost you any additional amount. This is to Fiverr.com. Fiverr.com is a website where you can pay people $5 to do something for you. If you go to their website and type in the word Excel in the top left search bar, you can find people who are experts at Excel, and including some people here who will just say, frankly, they'll do whatever you need in Excel for $5. Now keep in mind, if they're creating a formula for you, all of the formulas in Excel work also for numbers. Also, one other thing I would like to mention. For those of you who have taken this video, and it's frankly, numbers is not for everyone, if you feel that that's the case, I'd like to give you a little piece of advice. As of today's date, the current version of Microsoft Office is not a normal piece of software. It's subscription based, and it's about $100 a year depending on where you buy it from. There is a trick though. So the 2011 version for Mac is one that you can purchase. You don't have to pay a monthly subscription for it, and you can get it for very little money. Now, I'm recording this video just before we are about to completely redo the PC Classes Online website. So please be aware, if you go to our website and it looks completely different, don't be surprised. Go to our website and you're going to see a tab for the store. From there, you should see a category called Mac Software, and right towards the top of the list, you can see right here, instead of paying $100 a year for subscription-based access to Excel, you can pay $115 and own it. And the 2011 version is completely compatible with the current operating systems available for the Mac, which as of today's date is OS X Yosemite. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this class. If you've never checked out our website, PCClassesOnline.com is a completely free public service. If you're watching us on YouTube, we really appreciate it. If you click that little like button, leave us a comment. It helps us learn how to grow and get even better. This is David A. Cox. Class dismissed.